What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, my name's Mac. This is my YouTube channel, How to Heal. I like to go over ideas, thoughts that I found very helpful for my own healing, for my own journey towards more peace, happiness, contentment, and some ideas and thoughts I've had that have cultivated a lot more direct and effective, helpful mindsets. So hopefully you guys can benefit from this, maybe learn something that helps you guys as well. And to start today's video off, we'll do a nice forward stretch. Okay, so as always, hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And today's video, I wanted to discuss the fourth agreement from the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Absolutely love this book. So the fourth agreement is essentially to always do your best. And I think this is a great agreement to make with yourself. So he talks about this agreement and its benefits as, first of all, he says your best is always going to change. Your best is going to be different when you have high energy versus low energy, right? When you're rested versus when you're very tired. When you're happy versus when you're very sad. When you're in good health versus when you are sick. But if you always do your best, you will be at peace with your actions. You won't get caught up in a sense of regret around the things you should have done or could have done, because well, I did my best. And I think that, like, to take this even a step further is to accept that you're always doing your best. In one way or another, I believe it can be very helpful and freeing and a great way to give yourself love, to accept in one way or another you are always doing your best. Even if I could do this, but I'm just going to lay down for 10 minutes instead, right? Because you know what? In the scenario you're in the mind state you're in, with the thoughts you have, with the energy and the circumstance that you're in, that's what you did. And that is your best in many senses, right? So if you can just accept you're doing what you can do, you're doing just that, it brings you a lot of peace without having to associate your best with these ridiculously difficult high standards, right? Because it's very easy to be like, well, my best is I should be able to do everything, and burn yourself out, right? So in some sense, you can just take this as like you're always doing your best. Try to be easier on yourself in that sense, and just do what you do, and don't have regret about what you could have done, because that didn't happen, and that's just not how things panned out. So accept what is. With that being said, I think always trying to strive towards something better for yourself and to reach new heights of being able to put in more effort towards yourself and your own journey is good, right? Like, have compassion for yourself, but also don't try and maybe use this as an excuse to never do anything because, this is the circumstance, like I'm just going to stay in bed forever because it's my best, it's where I'm at, and it's what's happening. Like, do try and strive and actively put yourself in a forward position, but accept that what happens and try not to live with regret. The other really interesting thing he says here is always do your best, no more, no less. And he gives an example of doing more than your best as an issue. And it's a really interesting example because he basically explains someone goes to let's say like a Buddhist monk and asks him, okay, if I meditate for 2 hours a day, how long will it take me to become enlightened? And the Buddhist monk says, if you meditate for 2 hours a day, maybe 10 years before you become enlightened. He says, okay, if I meditate for 4 hours a day, how long until I become enlightened? He says, if you meditate for 4 hours a day, maybe 5 years before you become enlightened. He says, okay, if I meditate for 8 hours a day, how long before I become enlightened? He says, if you meditate for 8 hours a day, maybe 20 years before you become enlightened. And he says, what? But if I did 4 hours a day, then it was only going to be 5 years. Why 20 now, right? And that's because he would burn out. He says basically, if your best that was actually going to enable you to progress and move forward was 4 hours, but you did 4 extra, you just took away from the 4 hours you put in. You just took away from your progress. Maybe your focus really starts to waver at that point and the meditation isn't quality anymore, right? Maybe you're really burning yourself down, you're fatiguing, you're getting frustrated because of other thoughts that start to come in your mind, and you lose this sense of peace and you backtrack. And I think that's a really common theme, is when we push ourselves far beyond our consistently available levels of energy and we burn ourselves out and we actually backtrack even more, right? It takes slow, steady, consistent progress to achieve pretty much anything. If I decide I want to run a marathon, what's going to be more effective? Like if I want to run a marathon in whatever, let's say under 4 hours, is starting and running a marathon every day, just going the distance every day, gonna for 2 weeks, or let's say 6 months, every day for 6 months, or slowly bit by bit doing a smaller program, allowing myself rest, right? Maybe I do an eighth of a marathon for the first week and then a day off and a quarter marathon, and so on and so on, and slowly build up. What one's gonna work better, right? I could say, well, my best is doing this crazy thing, but realistically that's far beyond my best. My best efforts are the most sustainable and healthy, effective means towards getting toward a goal, not going super overkill and burning myself out. If I were to do a marathon every day, if I made it through the first one, I would almost surely die on the second day. Like my nervous system would be shot. I would be exhausted. I would be destroyed. My body wouldn't have the time to recover or make progress, right? So really powerful theme there. Don't burn yourself out, and don't be hard on yourself for things you think you could have done because you didn't, and those weren't the circumstances. So always do your best. Great agreement, great fourth agreement of the 4 agreements. Great way to close out. And that's today's video. So hope you guys found it helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can feel free to comment down below. And as always, hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for tuning in.